Welcome to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. Myself, Assistant Professor Sunil Shah. Today I would be covering up the topic called Workmen Compensation Act 1923, the old act, and this particular topic is in the subject called Industrial Law, which is there in the SEM 2, which is in the Unit 2 in the class of first year BMS. Students, I will be speaking about the role of the employee and the employer under the Workmen Compensation Act 1923. Speaking about the persons who are eligible, the employee who are eligible under the Workmen Compensation Act, it offers the compensation to the employees who suffer or die a total or partial disablement because of the accident while occurring in a course of employment. The compensation is paid to the employer, and the employee is also eligible to get the compensation from the person who is eligible to get the compensation from ESIC is not eligible to get the compensation under Workmen Compensation Act 1923. In short, I like to say that only the person can get the compensation under either in Workmen Compensation Act or under the ESIC Act. So the persons who are claiming the compensation under ESIC cannot get the compensation under Workmen Compensation Act. Students, as you are aware, the name of Workmen Compensation Act has been changed. The new name of Workmen Compensation Act in 2009 is been amended as Employees Compensation Act 2009. Coming to the objectives of Workmen Compensation Act, that is the Employees Compensation Act, it is to provide compensation to the employee or their dependents in case of injury, illness or death caused due to the employment, and to provide a system of speedy settlement of the compensation amount. Coming to the features of the employees or the Workmen Compensation Act, if the injury not leading to the death or permanent or total disablement or the partial disablement is caused by an accident which is directly attributable to the employee having at the time of the accident is under the influence of drink or in the state of intoxication. So students, if the person is in the state of intoxication, he is not eligible to get the compensation. If he is disobeying to the orders or to the rules and regulation of the employer, and which has been given expressly in writing that he should obey to these rules and regulation, and still is not obeying, then he is not eligible to get the compensation. And if there is a willful removal or disregard by the employee of any of the safeguard or any of the device which has been provided for the purpose of securing the safety of the employees, in such cases also is not eligible to get the compensation. Coming to the features, the Employees Compensation Act 1923 is an act to provide the payment in the form of compensation by the employer to the employee for any injury they have been suffered during the course of employment, may be due to the accident. When there are some other grounds when the employee is not liable to the compensation, or if the injury does not end into the entire or partial disablement of the employee for a period exceeding 3 days, in such cases is not eligible to get the compensation. Now, what are the principles governing the compensation? A minor, that is illegitimate son or unmarried illegitimate daughter, or the daughter's legitimate or illegitimate or adopted if married, and a minor or a widow of a minor. A minor brother or unmarried sister or a widowed sister if a minor, so in such cases they are eligible to get as a compensation in cases of a dependent, a widowed daughter-in-law, a minor child of the predeceased son, a minor child of the predeceased daughter, where no parent of the child is alive. In such cases he or she would be still considered as a dependent of that particular person. A parental grandfather, if no parent of the employee is alive, then they would be getting the compensation on behalf of the employee who has been having a death or getting a disablement benefits. Coming to the other parts, a widow or a minor who is a legitimate son or unmarried daughter or widowed mother is entitled to get the compensation because they would be called as dependent if the family of the deceased is only dependent on the earning of the employee at the time of death, or the son or a daughter who has attained the age of 18 years. A widower, a parent other than the widowed mother, is also eligible for the compensation. Coming to the nature of the liability under the Workmen Compensation, that is Employees Compensation Act, the employer becomes liable when the employees have sustained injury by an accident or unavoidable situation during the course of employment. Now, speaking about how may get the compensation, you must be the employee of the organization or the factory or that particular establishment. You must have been injured at any workplace or during the course of job, and you must have been sustained any injuries. Now, coming to the very important aspect, that is called doctrine of added peril. This is something new, and it is having a very important legal meaning. When the employee performs something which is not required in his duty or which involves extra danger, the employer cannot be held liable in such cases. The compensation of the injuries caused. In such cases, as held in the case of Devi Dayal Railaram versus the Secretary of the State, it was held that the doctrine of added peril was used as a defense by the employer was not liable for the compensation, because in this case the employer was been doing that work which is not been given or assigned to him. In such cases, he has not adhered to the safety norms, so this particular defense of added peril can be given by the employer. Coming to the adjudication of the compensation, the adjudication of this is done by the commissioner in calculation of the amount of compensation. The quantum of compensation is calculated from the date of accident. So, from the date of accident, the amount would be started calculating. Now, coming about the contributing negligence, that is the negligence on the part of the employer as well as the employee. Employee owe a duty to their employer to carry out their work with the reasonable care as to avoid accidents and injury. The employers are vicarious liable for the negligence for their employees, but they are entitled to claim contribution or indemnity for the negligent employee in appropriate circumstances. If there is a negligence on the part of both the employee as well as the employer, then the employer will be liable to pay the compensation to the extent of his own negligence and not on the part of the negligence of the employee. Hence, the compensation amount may be reduced as the employer will not be liable to pay the negligence for the negligence of the employee. Coming to the occupational disease, there are certain occupation which exposes the employee to some particular diseases that are inherent, that is infrared radiation, skin disease due to chemical or leather processing units, hearing impairment caused due to the noise, lung cancer caused by the exposure dust, or the disease due to the extreme climatic condition. You are aware, during the past 2 years back, we had a pandemic in this India. We had corona guidelines. If the employer doesn't obey to the corona guidelines, and if he comes into that particular victim, he becomes the victim of that particular occupational disease. In such cases, the employer would be also liable, but they have to follow the rules and regulations laid by the employer as well as the government. If the employee doesn't follow the rules and regulations laid by the employer, then in such cases the employer won't be liable. Coming to the part A of the schedule 3, if the employer contracts any of the disease that is mentioned as an occupational disease of the employee is employed for a continuous period of 6 months and not lesser than that, the employer shall not be liable to pay the compensation of the disease which will be deemed to be injury, and it shall not be considered, and it shall be considered as a out of course of employment. So minimum 6 months should be passed. Coming to the part B of the schedule 3, the disease caused by phosphorus or any toxic substances present all include the exposure of risks concerns. The disease caused by the mercury or the toxic substance found exposure of the risks concern. The disease caused by benzene or toxic substances found which is pose risks to the concern. Disease caused by the nitro or amino toxic substances of the benzene involve the risks of the concern. The diseases are considered as the occupational disease and they are deemed to be out of the course and of the employment, and therefore employer will not be liable to pay compensation in the above mentioned cases. The disease which have been occurred during the course of employment mentioned in the part B of the schedule 3. Coming up to the part C of the schedule 3, if the employee contracts a disease that is mentioned as the occupational disease which is specific to the employment during the course of employment for the period not less than the period as mentioned in the schedule 3, it is known as an occupational disease. So the meaning of this that the employer will get the compensation if it follows into the criteria of the part C of the schedule 3. Coming to the section 4 of the amount of compensation when the death results from the injury. In case of the employee dies, the amount equal to the 50% of the amount monthly wages multiplied by the factor as given in the schedule 4. by the act or rupees 80,000 as given, whichever is more. So either two things, if the employee dies, he would be getting a monthly wages by 50% as per given in the schedule 4 or rupees 90,000, whichever is more. Coming to the next part related to the amount of compensation, when there is a permanent total disablement results from the injury. In case of employee has the total disablement, that is his particular organ has been totally amputated or is not able to perform up to the mark, then he will be getting the wages up to the 60% or rupees 90,000 or whichever is more. If there is a permanent partial disablement results from the injury, then in case of permanent partial disablement, the compensation provided is equal to the disability as 60% or rupees 90,000 or whichever is more. Coming to the main part, that is called liability of the insurance. The liability of the insurance is determined on the basis of the wages of the employee. The amount of the wages is covered under the insurance policy. The company will be liable to indemnify only that portion of the amount which is under the wages. So the company's role is still wages and the rest part would be dealt with the insurance company. Coming to the penalties part, section 18A of the Workmen Compensation, that is Employees Compensation Act, speaks about if the employer would be liable if he fails to maintain the books that is required under the section 3 and subsection 10. If the employer fails to make a report that is needed under the section 10B, he is liable, then he would be penalized for the offence. Under section 17A, if he fails to inform to the employees his right to claim compensation, he is still liable. He or she should be punished with the fine which is not less than 50,000 rupees, which may be extended to 1 lakh if this particular employee falls into the criteria of section 10, section 10B or section 17A, which deals with maintaining the book, making the report and informing about the employee's right. No prosecution can be takes place under this section, only it would be penal offence. Coming to the concluding part, the act is basically made for the employees so that they incur whatever they incur the expenses, they get compensated while occurring in and course of employment. That would be injury which may lead to death, that would be permanent disablement or it would be partial disablement, and there should be compensation from the employees. If the employee is the master and the employee is the servant, the employee get the compensation only when the injury takes place in the course of employment in the workplace. Thank you from my side, students. Under this particular video, I had explained to you that the Workmen Compensation Act name is being changed into Employees Compensation Act from 2009. Thank you.